Howdy ho YouTube, Major Cord here, and today I'm going to delve into the first aid portion of my bug-in bag or emergency car kit or what have you. A couple ground rules with this kit. I am not trained in emergency medicine. I'm not an EMT, not a paramedic, not a nurse, none of that. I have family members that are. I've lived with one for 22 years now, so I've picked up a lot of stuff, but I'm not, one of those talented people. This is not a field trauma kit. I could probably buy kits that are much more in-depth than this, but I'm poor. I'm not going to go through that expense. So this is basically the best that I could do with my limited budget and limited skills. This is what I currently foresee myself needing in the unlikely event of any emergency I could encounter within my car. I go off the road, get cut up, bruised, bumped, whatever. If I go off the road, I'm kind of hoping an ambulance will come and get me. Because I'm not really going to be able to patch myself up too well, but you know what? This kit will hopefully take care of some stuff if I have to, or if I need to render aid to someone else that I'm in the car with, or vice versa. This will hopefully take care of it. Again, this entire kit is kind of more geared toward me being stuck in a car, less toward the shit hit the fan type of stuff. So I do have a pretty well-stocked medical kit at a basic level, but nothing too spectacular. So with that said, let's go. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of crap that gets shoved into this bag. This is just a standard 1-quart Ziploc bag, clearly labeled first aid, just in case no one could see what's in it and get the hint. But again, meticulous labeling goes into this kit in general. So the first part, and this doesn't actually go in the bag, this sits right behind it, but that I find very important to this kit are the large blood stoppers. In the unlikely event that I need to render serious first aid either to myself or someone else, these are the big guns. One 10 by 30 inch trauma dressing and two 8 by 10 Surgipads. Now these are non-sterile. Again, very important to label this, because I took them out of their original packages and vacuum sealed them to make them smaller. However, I did so, as I mentioned in my introduction, with clean hands in a clean environment. So, although I wouldn't want these used on me in an operating room, if all else fails, I'm in an accident, someone else is in an accident, the person I'm with in the car is bleeding, this will do the job. It's better than an old t-shirt. I'd rather stop the bleeding than care about this. So, again, I might be taking a very minute, small risk, but how many people, realistically, carry blood stoppers this big in their car with them? I'm willing to bet very few. So now let's get to all this stuff. Okay, since we've already talked about controlling bleeding on a large scale, I guess we should just continue along that train of thought. A large majority of this first aid kit is about controlling bleeding, because should I need a first aid kit while I'm in my car, especially in an emergency situation, odds are I'm bleeding. So here, again, meticulously labeled, 3 5x4 dressings, and 6 liners. And by liners, I mean panty liners, because, you know what? They're designed for blood. Have at it. So if someone who is delving into this kit does not know what these are for, moderate bleeding. So again, an attempt to stop blood. If someone is seriously wounded, I hope that there's an ambulance on the way, but in conjunction with everything else here, hopefully this will prolong life a bit longer. We have some 4x4 pads, gauze pads to cover up a wound. This will hopefully stem the flow of blood, and this will cover up the wound after it's been dealt with. And then here, to tend to really, truly minor cuts, bumps, scrapes, that type of stuff, this is like the B.O.B kit. So 4 2x2 gauze pads, 4 3x3 gauze pads, and 8 Band-Aids, basically. So nothing fancy here, just basically a very well-stocked B.O.B kit is what I'm carrying. And like I said, this is not something that's designed to conquer the world. This is not something that's designed to render any trauma care to anybody. This is, in reality, something that's made me to feel prepared. So, to go with bleeding, obviously, gloves, because if I'm bleeding, I'm not going to bother, but if I'm bleeding and someone who doesn't know me is working on me, they're probably going to want gloves, and vice versa. If I don't know the person I'm working on, gloves, just for our protection. This, as you can clearly see by my, again, meticulous labeling, is more of a utilities kit. So, in conjunction with needing to stop bleeding, you're going to want to disinfect some wounds. I have Germ-X spray, or rather a disinfectant spray in here. Poison ivy spray, glucose gel. This I have specifically because I have several friends who are diabetic, and that's just kind of the, if we're stuck in a car for several days, this might be a necessary item. Neosporin and alcohol prep pads. So this is kind of just the miscellany kit of things that had no other home. So we have some disinfectants, we have some specific medical needs, and we also have a little thing of new skin, so liquid bandage. For teeny little minor cuts that I don't want to even waste a bandage on, new skin. Poison ivy relief. I'm not going to find poison ivy in my car in the winter, but this is a comfort item specifically designed to relieve itching for any type of skin irritation, just so that you're not itching all your skin away and causing other problems while you're stuck in a car. It's small, it doesn't take up space, I figured why the hell not. And I suppose this is like the medical toolkit. Here, as you can read, 1 roll of fabric tape, 1 tweezer, 1 CPR mask, 1 Sharpie, a tongue depressor, and a pen light. Nothing too fancy. It's literally what it says it is. The light is my much, I guess, very controversial Maglite Solitaire. If you guys have seen my review of that, which will be linked over here, you'll know that I don't hold this light in very high esteem, because it is very, very weak. Terribly, terribly weak light. There. It's on. Terribly, terribly weak light. Not something I'd want to have to trust with much. However, in a medical kit, I think this light shines, and I said as much in my review of it. Because if you need to check pupils for their response, it's just bright enough so that you're not going to blind a person by shining this light in their eyes. So, I threw that in there. But other than that, pretty much basic stuff. Tongue depressor up here, CPR mask, Sharpie for either labeling bags, as I seem to do with it, or labeling people. If I need to label someone, whether it's a wound they have or if I gave them a drug at a certain time, not that I carry a ton of drugs with me, but just for the benefit of anyone who'll be working on them later, I want to do that in a way that is going to be at least semi-permanent. So I want to notate on the person everything that I've done. And that, again, that's just me being meticulous so that I have left a kind of trail of evidence of the care I've given. And yeah, as you can see, my stock of drugs isn't terribly impressive. We're just talking basic comfort items, which will be handy to have if you're stuck in a car for several days. At this point, we're talking a large supply of painkillers and anti-diarrheal pills, because if you're stuck in a car, you don't want to be shitting your brains out and losing water, because you'll become dehydrated and you have a limited supply of water as it is. And quite frankly, I don't want to be stuck in a car with a headache. Simple as that. But if I am injured and, I happen to need a painkiller, I have a pretty decent supply. I realistically probably shouldn't have had to label this bag, but you never know. Yeah, these are just a pair of trauma shears. They've been beaten up over the years. As a medical family, we kind of have a collection of these going, so I picked the best ones and rolled with them. These are obviously handy for getting clothes off of people, not in the fun way necessarily, but cutting through clothes. These things have been known to be able to cut pennies if you have a good pair. But getting through clothes if you have an injury, that type of stuff, cutting gauze. Generally, they're just your medical utility tools. So, obviously, I wanted to throw a pair of these in there and just have them. So again, this kit is not a trauma kit. It's kind of basically an advanced boo-boo kit, but this is something I felt I needed to have because it's better to have them and not need them than need them and not have them. And obviously, I could use my pocket knife or the knife that I have in this kit, but this is something that I'd feel safer using on an injured person, and this is something that someone who does not have experience with knives would probably feel a hell of a lot safer using on me if they needed to. And the last little module within the first aid kit is 2 triangular bandages and 2 rolls of gauze. Now this would be used for immobilizing a sprain or fracture or covering up a wound on top of other pads of gauze or bandages, stuff like that. No fancy Israeli bandages, no fancy traction splints, nothing like that. Just, simple run-of-the-mill, everyday, everyman items. And that's kind of what this entire kit is about for me. I'm not trying to be tactical. I'm not trying to be, a highway trauma surgeon. I'm just trying to be cost-effective and using known products that work. So if I ever, heaven forbid, need to use any of this stuff, it'll work for me because this is my level of expertise and this is stuff I know I can use with my level of pathetic, granted, medical training. And eventually down the line, I'd love to take some courses in basic, medical stuff. But I don't have the time right now. I don't have the financial capability. So this is the best that I feel I could do right now with my limited budget and my limited skills. And you know what? Frankly, this is probably better than 90% of motorists on the road have. So, c'est la vie, right? Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned as I delve through the other modules in this kit. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. But, yeah, take care.